The night my parents kicked me out, I had $43 in my pocket, a backpack with 3 days of clothes, and a phone with a cracked screen that was down to 11% battery. I was 18 years old. It was raining. My father had opened the front door and stood to the side and said, not shouted, said, in the specific calm voice that is somehow worse than shouting, "You can come back when you decide to live by the rules of this house." I had looked at my mother. She was standing at the kitchen doorway with her arms crossed and her eyes somewhere slightly above my head, the way she looked when she had already made a decision and didn't want to be challenged on it. I picked up my backpack. I walked out. My father closed the door behind me before I reached the bottom of the driveway. I stood in the rain on the pavement outside the house I had grown up in, and I looked at my cracked phone screen, and I made myself one promise. I was never coming back. Not to beg, not to explain, not to live by rules that had never been designed to help me grow, only to keep me small. I was never coming back, unless I came back as someone they had never imagined I could be. 10 years later, my phone rang. It was my mother. She was crying, and she was standing in the lobby of a building with my name on it. But, before we dive deeper into this story, I want to ask you a small favor. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button right now. We are on our way to 2,000 subscribers, and we are not even halfway through. Every single one matters deeply to me. And if this story already has you feeling something, go ahead and tap that like button. It takes 2 seconds, and it truly means the world. Thank you. Now let's get into it. Let me tell you about the house I grew up in. Not the building itself. A decent-sized semi-detached on a quiet street in a neighborhood that looked ordinary from the outside and was ordinary on the inside in ways that took me years to fully understand. I mean the atmosphere of it. The specific feeling of moving through rooms where love was conditional and approval was currency, and the price of both changed without warning, depending on factors I was never fully able to predict. My parents were not cruel people in the way that word is usually understood. They never hit me. They fed me. They kept me clothed and housed and enrolled in school, and they would have told anyone who asked that they were good parents. And in the most basic technical sense, they were not wrong. But there is a kind of parenting that provides everything a child needs to survive and almost nothing they need to thrive, that meets the minimum requirements of care so consistently and so completely that from the outside it looks like love. From the inside it feels like a transaction. Everything in our house had a condition attached. Good grades were expected, not celebrated, because anything less than expected was a failure, and anything meeting expectation was simply doing what you were supposed to do. My opinions were tolerated until they disagreed with my parents' opinions, at which point they became disrespect. My dreams were listened to with the specific patient expression adults use when they are waiting for a child to finish saying something impractical so the conversation can move on. I wanted to study architecture and design. My father wanted me to study accounting. Not because he had thought carefully about my strengths or my future or what kind of life would make me genuinely fulfilled, but because accounting was stable, and stable was the highest value in our household, and anything that prioritized passion over stability was foolishness dressed up as ambition. I applied to architecture school anyway. I got in. My father found the acceptance letter on a Tuesday evening. By Friday, I was standing in the rain with $43 and a cracked phone. The first year was the hardest year of my life. I am not going to pretend otherwise, because I think honesty matters more than inspiration in moments like this one. I slept on a university friend's couch for 6 weeks while I found my footing. I worked 3 jobs simultaneously: early morning cleaning shifts, afternoon retail, weekend waitressing, while attending architecture school full-time on a scholarship that covered tuition but nothing else. I was exhausted in a way that went beyond physical tiredness. I was lonely in the specific way that comes from knowing that the people who were supposed to be your safety net had chosen not to be. I called my mother once, 3 months after leaving. From a payphone, because my phone had finally died completely, and I hadn't been able to afford to replace it yet. She answered. I heard my father's voice in the background asking who it was. She said nobody, and hung up. I stood at that payphone for a long time after the line went dead. Then I walked back to my friend's couch, and I made myself a second promise. Every single thing I was feeling in that moment, the exhaustion, the loneliness, the specific humiliation of being nobody to the people who named you, I was going to use it. Not as an excuse, not as a wound I carried publicly looking for sympathy, as fuel. Quiet, private, inexhaustible fuel. I graduated 5 years after leaving home, top of my class. I stood at that graduation ceremony in a gown I had bought secondhand, and I looked at the rows of families in the audience, and I felt something complicated that I am still not sure I have a perfect word for. Not sadness exactly, not anger. Something more like clarity. I knew exactly who I was, and exactly what I had built, and exactly how I had built it, and nobody in that audience had contributed a single thing to any of it. That knowledge was worth more than anything a family photograph could have given me. I joined a firm straight out of graduation, small but respected, the kind of place that gave young architects real responsibility early, and expected them to deliver. I delivered. Every project, every deadline, every client presentation. I saved carefully and consistently the way I had learned to save during those 3 job years, treating every spare dollar as something precious because I knew from experience exactly how quickly things could disappear. 4 years into my career, I had enough to make my first move. A small commercial property in an area I had been watching carefully for 2 years. Undervalued, overlooked, full of potential that most people hadn't seen yet. I bought it. I redesigned it myself, working evenings and weekends on the plans, calling in favors from contractors I had built relationships with over 4 years of project work. I opened it as a mixed-use creative space, small studios, a cafe, a flexible events floor. It filled within 3 months. I bought the building next door 18 months later, then the one across the street. By the end of year 8, I owned 4 buildings in a neighborhood that had quietly become one of the most sought-after creative districts in the city. My name was on all of them. Not prominently. A small brass plate by each entrance. Tasteful. Quiet. The way I had always done everything. What I had not known, what I could not have planned, was that the company my father had worked at for 20 years had relocated their offices to my neighborhood 2 years earlier, to one of my buildings. My father walked past my name on a brass plate every single morning for 2 years before my mother finally looked it up. I want to pause here for a second, because I know some of you listening right now have been told by someone who was supposed to believe in you that your dreams were not worth pursuing. That stability mattered more than passion. That who you wanted to be was less important than who they wanted you to be. If that's you, I see you. Drop a comment below and tell me your story. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. We are building something special here together, and I want you to be part of it from the beginning. My phone rang on a Thursday afternoon in October. I was sitting at my desk, reviewing plans for a 5th property, when the number came up. My mother's number. I had never deleted it. I looked at it for 4 full rings. Then I answered. She was crying before she said a single word. Not the controlled crying of someone who has prepared what they want to say. The uncontrolled kind. The kind that comes from something hitting you suddenly and completely in a way you were not prepared for. Is this your building? Yes, Mom. A long silence filled only by her trying to compose herself. All of them? Yes. Another silence. Your father comes here every day. He has come here every day for 2 years, and we didn't know it was. She stopped. I waited. I owe you an apology that I don't know how to give, she said finally. I don't know if you want to hear it. I don't know if it means anything after this long. But I need you to know that I am sorry. For the door, for the rain, for the payphone, for all of it. I sat very still at my desk. Outside my window, the neighborhood hummed and moved and lived in the way that places do when they have been given the investment and attention and vision they always deserved. I had built this, all of it. From $43 and a cracked phone screen and a promise made in the rain. I hear you, Mom, I said. And I meant it. Not as forgiveness exactly, not yet, but as a beginning. And that is my story. 18 years old, $43, a cracked phone screen, a door closed in the rain, and 10 years of building something so quietly and so completely that her own father walked past her name every single morning for 2 years without knowing it was hers. Let me be honest with you now. If I were in this situation, what would I have done? Exactly what she did. Not called them in year 2 when things started working out. Not shown up at their door with proof of what I was building, looking for validation. I would have built first. Completely. Silently. Without needing their acknowledgement to make it real. Because the most powerful thing you can do for a wound that was given to you in your own home is to build something so undeniable that the wound becomes irrelevant. Not forgotten, not erased, just irrelevant. And to every parent listening to this today, please hear me when I say this. The door you close on your child tonight might be the door they spend the next 10 years building something extraordinary behind. Not to hurt you, but because you left them no choice but to find their own way. And their own way might just turn out to be more remarkable than anything you had planned for them. Keep the door open. Always keep the door open, because by the time you realize you closed it, they may have already built their own. Now I want to hear from you. Would you have answered that phone call after 10 years? Or would you have let it ring? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know every single thought. If this story moved something in you today, please like this video right now. It genuinely helps more people find this channel and hear stories like this one. We are so close to 2,000 subscribers. If you haven't joined the family yet, now is the perfect time. Click that subscribe button. I will see you in the next story. Take care of yourself, always.